More on this divide among Democrats. I'd like to welcome in Democratic strategist David Carlucci. David, great to see you. We know that a lot of Democrats are very unhappy with this vote, saying it's a weird moment to cave after the Democrats had that momentum from the election, which was less than a week ago. So my question for you, why now?
Yeah, I think this really demonstrates how the Senate can be insulated from everyday politics, right? All of the senators that will face the electors again won't have to do that until 2030, because some of the senators that did vote are not seeking re-election, but those that are, they're not on the ballot again until 2030. So I don't think we'll be talking about this exact shutdown come their re-election. But I think this also demonstrates the difference in the two parties. The Democrats have a big tent. The Republicans have just one person, and that's Donald Trump. Any disagreement with Donald Trump, you're out of the party. Whereas on the Democratic side, they can have these disagreements, and they have a big, diverse group of ideas. And I think this demonstrates people wanting to govern. And they said, look, I'm going to look past the politics and do what they thought was right. Myself might disagree with them, but they were able to put the politics aside and say, look, there is a big problem. You look at Senator Kaine out of Virginia. He's got so many federal employees that were just devastated and scared about what would happen because President Trump flirted with the idea of not only firing 4,000 employees, but also not giving back pay to hundreds of thousands of furloughed workers. So they also got SNAP benefits restored. So there were some positives. But I think, yes, you could be angry, but this is what they decided to do and move forward. And the other part is that healthcare still remains on the, front and center. You had a senator just talk about, again, is eviscerating the Affordable Care Act, yet offering no solution whatsoever. And I think the American public are just seeing through that. They're sick and tired of Republicans complaining about the Affordable Care Act, yet doing nothing to help Americans pay for their premiums and help those that don't have health care get coverage.
All right, so we know Politico is calling this an eruption of an ugly Democratic civil war. Independent Senator Angus King of Maine, he was among the group of moderates who broke ranks, voted with Republicans. I'd like to play part of what he said earlier today, defending that vote.
Well, Joe, you have to go back to what the strategy was at the beginning of the shutdown. There were two goals, both of which I support. One was standing up to Donald Trump. The other was getting some resolution on the ACA premium tax credit issue. The problem was the shutdown wasn't accomplishing either goals, and there was there was zero likelihood that it was going to.
Okay, David. So, he says it wasn't accomplishing those goals. So what do you believe is the strategy for Democrats going forward, again, with Republicans controlling everything?
Yeah, I think the strategy has to be that we focus on the problems that are happening in the United States right now, and chief among them is healthcare. The fact that healthcare premiums are rising, people are losing their healthcare coverage, and Donald Trump and the GOP are refusing to negotiate this or to talk about it. They want to cherry pick specific little issues that they have or exacerbate problems that don't exist, and yet not talk about how are we going to bring down the cost of healthcare? How are we going to cover people that are falling through that safety net? And I think now with those prices increasing, and the fact that Leader Thune has said there will be a vote come December, this puts the focus square on that issue. And that relates to the issue of affordability. When people are making a decision between paying their healthcare premiums or turning on the heat an extra degree, this is a real problem. And I think it's going to spell trouble for the GOP heading into the midterms. And now Democrats are going to be upset, of course, because a lot of us are very upset with what the GOP is doing. And this is one of the only ways we can voice that frustration. But I think ultimately the biggest test is going to be come November of 2026 when we have an opportunity to vote. I think people are going to take it out on the GOP, and this is an opportunity to keep that focus on for them to do the right thing the GOP, and hopefully they will. But I don't think so, because they've gotten so used to complaining about health care that it seems like they don't want people to have lower premiums or even to get health care coverage.
All right, so I want to talk about Democrats upset there. And it may be more than Republicans who could potentially feel the repercussions, because so when it comes to the 8 senators in that caucus who broke ranks to move this forward, none of them are up for re-election this coming year. You already pointed that out. But now we're seeing Democratic Representative Ro Khanna is calling on Senate Democrats to replace Minority Leader Senator Chuck Schumer. What do you make of that? Because is Schumer going to feel the effects of this?
Well, again, I think people need to do their job. And look, Ro Khanna is in the House of Representatives. He's not in the U.S. Senate. So if he wants to replace Chuck Schumer, he should run for the U.S. Senate. But I think there's going to be a lot of grandstanding, a lot of you shoulda, you coulda, I woulda. And that's not fair. Because the Senate is a tough job, obviously. It's like herding cats. And I think Chuck Schumer is doing the job that he was elected to do. And again, Schumer is not up for, I believe, until 2028. So I think a lot of these things will pass over. That decision of who leads the Senate is something that is only decided by members of the Democratic Senate conference. And to say otherwise is just grandstanding, trying to get a political soundbite in, which I understand and I appreciate. But I think it does little other than get people upset and point fingers when you have no real solution or ability to work towards that.
And we'll see if this does, in fact, move forward as it is expected to. All right, David Carlucci, thank you.
Good to be with you. Thanks.
Well, coming up.